Moraji Desai government came and he became member planning commission. So he rings me up actually. So we used to speak, Babu, तुम वहाँ क्या कर रहे हो? देखो यहाँ पे प्लानिंग कमीशन में अर्बन किसी को इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, तुम आ जाओ और तुम्हें एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी बना देंगे. I'm old, 31 years old. Manmohan Singh happened to be the member secretary of the planning commission 1980, 81 or something like that. That's how I got to know it. I kept bothering him कि मैं क्या करूँ because there was no structure for urban work. I said, look, I want to set up 4 task forces on urban development: planning of urban development, financing of urban development, shelter and the urban poor, and management of urban development. And I think just to get me out of his hair, he said, "Hi, please do it." I said, "Do you think that I should resign from the World Bank now?" He says, "No. Don't do this mistake. I made this mistake. Earn some money, get more experience, then you come back." Then he came back as the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission in 1985 with Rajiv Gandhi. Again, he called me up and I said, "I want to come back now." I said, "Okay."
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of Growth is Good. Very pleased to have Dr. Rakesh Mohan with us today. Dr. Mohan has done a number of things in his life. He's been executive director at the International Monetary Fund. He's been deputy governor of the RBI. But arguably one of the most important things he's done is been a key part of the 1991 reforms that have led to so much growth and prosperity in India. Let's talk to him. Thank you, Dr. Mohan, for joining us. Real pleasure to have you. I'll start the way I always start with guests on this, is to ask you about your personal journey to even realizing that economic growth is a thing, it's important. I mean, your own career has been so intertwined with India's growth that, and I mean, I want to talk a lot more about that. But how did the personal realization come through? And after all these years, what are the strongest personal reflections on growth that
That will certainly take 2 hours.
let's give it that time. I think it's really important.
No, so I went abroad when I was 16 because I got a scholarship to go to a boarding school in England in 1964. And before that, I had been at Mayo College in Ajmer. So in those days, anyone who thought himself to be smart, okay, did science or maths, okay. Anyone who, and of course, we all look down upon people doing arts.
Yeah.
And it was certainly the case in school that the brighter people did go to the science stream. Within that, of course, I did maths, physics, chemistry, and of course, all the other subjects. But I got particularly interested in electricity for some reason, which I don't now remember why. So, in fact, in one of my summer projects, I actually almost wrote a book on electricity. I can't find the damn thing. It's about 3 big notebooks actually. Anyways, that's only by way of saying, so that I was very clear that I wanted to do electrical engineering in college.
Right.
So in fact, when
let me just say, I'm glad that your plans did not work out.
Yeah. Well, no, so they did actually, but I'll tell you, this is an answer to your question. So as I was finishing in those days what is now Indian School Certificate, it used to be called something. No, it was called Indian School Certificate. Now it's called something else.
The ICSE.
ICSE, that's right. This is the ICSE, that was a precursor to ICSE.
Right.
And in fact, it still reflected colonial times in that the papers were set in Cambridge and they came, of course, by sea to India.
Right.
And then our answers all went by sea.
Oh, wow, they went back.
Yes, all the way back. And the exams were held in late November. We didn't get the results till March. There was no internet, there was no fax, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, this is just so. I during that time, during those days, you applied to college as you finished ISC, Indian School Certificate, or higher secondary, depending on the stream you were in. So in fact, I applied to do physics honors at St. Stephen's and applied to IITs, and I got admission to both physics honors at St. Stephen's and IIT Bombay for electrical engineering. But then I won't go into detail of that; that'll take too much time. But then in March, April 1964, I got an offer or a scholarship to go to England to the boarding school.
Right.
Okay, so I did that, and there I specialized even further, because that's to do A levels. So I did maths, higher maths, and physics, 3 A levels, and of course there was a couple of other general knowledge kind of stuff. So I did that, but during those 2 years, especially the second year, we had a they set up a special house, that is a boarding house, special house for quote bright students, just a dozen of us. This was sort of then headmaster's, whose name was John Buchanan, his way of trying to upgrade the school in terms of its results, etc. So he had a number of scholarship students like me, one of whom, by the way, was Suman Berry.
Oh, interesting.
So he came a year after I did. So we were together in this 12 boys thing. We had this is all relevant to the question.
Yeah, I'm
not
sure it
rambling.
is. I'm sure it is.
So we had a fantastic housemaster who's also an English teacher. His name was Christopher Dixon. And he taught all kinds of stuff. He had major influence, I think, both our lives. And Suman, I think, was already that way inclined. But in my case, he introduced us to philosophy, to move to films, all kinds of things actually. To some extent, I had always been interested in social science, social studies, etc. that we did in school. We were always aware of what's going on in India and the world and so on, politically and otherwise. But he brought intellectual heft to that to broaden one's mind. Right. So that was in some sense the first sort of movement away from being a nerd.
Well, a different kind of nerd, rather.
Yeah, no, that's right. But in some sense, just opening one's mind. So he used to bring the then absolute classic movies, etc., then explain them, also literature and things like that. But I was still clear I wanted to do electrical engineering. So I applied to various places, and I got into Imperial College of Science and Technology, University of London. Now it's a separate university. In that case, those days it was part of the University of London for electrical engineering, and I got in. Okay, so I went there very happily. But however, in my first semester, actually, this is 1966, in my first semester, I found that I had no academic difficulty because I had good background and strength in maths, physics, etc. But I just found I didn't find it interesting. Right now, just like the Indian system, because this is where the Indian system comes from, total rigidity, right, in the university system. So it was almost impossible to change your subject unless you went through the whole rigmarole of applying again. And I had another scholarship, so it was really almost impossible to change. So I decided, I have to do this, finish it, and then we'll see. So in the first semester itself, as I was going through this very difficult time, now what the hell to do? And it was the case that every day I got a different idea. One day I thought I should do pure maths. And my mind used to be so clear and concentrated at that time that I could actually go look at pure maths textbook in the subway, in the tube in London. Second day, sociology. Oh, that's very interesting. Third day, political science, economics, and so on. So my mind was again opening further on my own. Second, given that it became clear to me that I'm not as interested in the subject I was doing all the work and doing it well and so on. There were a number of different sort of extracurricular activities in college. There was a so-called H.G. Wells Society. That was to do with science.
Yeah.
Scientific future.
The famous science fiction author.
Yes, science fiction, but it's called H.G. Wells Society. But it's sort of told science policy, etc. So that also, we used to get fantastic speakers actually. And that also opened my mind to science policy. And that has connection with economic development.
Right.
So thinking of scientific technology policy, scientific development, technology development, etc., to for development.
Right.
Those were not directed towards development, but that made it clearer to me how important science and technology are development arm for economic development, even though I was going away from engineering.
Right.
Right. Then again, someone like Christopher Dixon, who was my housemaster and so on in school, there was the electrical engineering department only among the engineering departments had one person for humanities.
Okay.
His name was Sinclair Goodland.
Wow.
JSR Goodland. J. Sinclair something Goodland. So he also used to do all kinds of things, including teaching you to write. So we actually had courses in writing technical things, like, but he also was very wide in the similar fashion. So he was another influence, okay, opening my mind. And so then there was the International Relations Club and all kinds of other humanity. I mean, I joined everything, okay, of interest more towards social sciences. So that slowly started getting my interest on economic development and therefore turning towards economics.
Right.
So I finished my degree in 3 years as a 3-year course in electrical engineering. At the end of that, towards the end of that, I was thinking what to do now. I was sort of clear I wanted to do economics, but my mind was not as focused and clear. So I applied to about 20 places.
Okay.
About 7 or 8, I think maybe 15, maybe half of them in England. For one was for science policy, MA in science policy. Another was MA in development economics and things like that, many different things. Another one was MBA from London School of Business. Similarly, I applied in the US like a shortcut approach, PhD in business in Columbia Business School, PhD in economics to some places, PhD in economics, even though I'd done no economics. So I had a couple of courses that we could have from LSE lecturer. I applied a PhD in economics at Harvard and number of Pennsylvania, etc. By chance, so in those there's no internet, nothing.
Right.
So the information that you got and where to apply, how to apply, you had to go to some library, which had the catalogs of different universities.
Right.
There's something called the English Speaking Union in London, which had all the catalogs of all the different universities. They just happened to come across the Yale College undergraduate catalog. Okay, I opened it and it had what a potpourri of fantastic courses: philosophy, history, political science, international relations, and so on. A whole incredible actually. I said, yeah, this sounds very good. So, and they had one thing that says we take transfer students, which is about 20 transfer students. Most of that is really meant for students who have gone to some other university, probably a lesser university, but who are very bright, and they want to shift to a major university like Yale. So about 20, and maybe some vacancies arise, some potential drop out or something second year. So I applied for that, even though I'd already got a BSc engineering.
Right.
Right. So I applied for that and got admission and the scholarship. So I took off for that.
And this is still as an undergraduate? Or?
No. See, undergraduate. So I did a second degree.
Okay.
Undergraduate.
Okay.
So having done a BSc engineering, by this time, it is answering your question, I had drifted slowly from science policy, technology development, electrical engineering, economics, that I really want to work on promoting economic development and therefore do economics as an undergraduate.
Right.
2 years. Now the American system is not like the British system or here.
Right.
That you only do the subject you're doing.
Right.
So even though I was there for only 2 years, I needed to do, I think, 16 courses in 2 years, or I did 20, that is 5 every semester.
Right.
So that's 5 times 4, 20.
Right.
So I think, if I remember correctly, to get the major, you had to do 12, I think, out of that, or 10, I don't remember. So but then I decided I want to do economics PhD. All right. So then I decided, since I'm going to do economics PhD, in any case, I have to do the minimum number of economics courses. And given the broadening of mind that had taken place, I need to do other things in a more systematic manner. So I almost sort of copied the politics, philosophy, and economics PPE of Oxford
Right.
into my course, because you can take any courses.
Yeah.
So I did courses in philosophy. I did courses in political science and development, political development.
Right.
Okay. I did courses in history, among which was the history of imperialism.
Right.
Okay, and various other things like that. So I had a lovely another course which was given by the president of the university, and I was very privileged to be just a seminar about 12 students of a course on university, on what constitutes universities, what they should do, etc. Full term talking.
Right.
So I had this full potpourri of courses, but my mind was that, look, I need to understand all these things so that I understand economic development.
But what led you to this? What led you? What was this? Where did this shift come from? Why did you start thinking economic development is important?
No, that's what I said earlier, that having thought of electrical engineering,
Yes,
right, go to college, my mind is already being opened up
yeah,
to other things apart from just maths, physics,
Yeah.
engineering, etc. And then, as I said, I was part of these different.
yeah. No. The exposure you're getting, I understand, but what part of economic development itself drew you?
No, so that time it wasn't. I don't know what part. Just that we are a poor country.
Right.
Now, having gone to England,
Yeah.
it's a rich country.
Right.
You can think, look, what should we be doing?
So I mean, and that's
just that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing great. I mean, just that there was this transition of going from engineering. Also, of course, engineering itself involves why do engineering? Because you're building something.
Right. You may think it's not anything great, right? But I think today we stand at this space where even the understanding of this seemingly very mundane idea that we are a poor country and we should be becoming rich is not as widespread as I would hope it were, right? At least
it used to be.
I mean, even if you look at the rich countries, right, there is a growing degrowth movement, as they call it.
The rich countries, to some extent, the rich countries are richer than one might have ever imagined. Right. So in some, doesn't matter in terms of their thinking of degrowth. The question is that, after all, in India, I mean, when I'm speaking informally, not as an economist, it is, I find every day really incredible how much poor people are focusing on their children's education, making sacrifices, getting them to go to school, getting them to go to college, and so on.
So their lives may improve.
So, I mean, I think that among the different levels of staff that one has had, including cooks and peons and like that in the government, I think all of their children have graduates now.
Yeah.
And some of them were illiterate, actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is this real desire in the country. You've got to get ahead.
Yeah.
So I think that's happening. And so once I went to economics, there was the Yale University had something called the Economic Growth Center, which specialized in development economics.
Right.
The whole almost 40% or 30% of the economics department at Yale in those days was to do with economic development. There was a whole building to do with that Economic Growth Center.
I mean, and the discipline of economics itself, I think, is not put economic growth at the center of it for the last many years now, I think.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that time.
Of course, and at that time it was
much more
remarkable.
Much more important. And it was also partly in those days driven by aid agencies. The other thing I would say is that in my reading, I guess from childhood, at least age of 10, 11 or earlier, I don't quite remember, we read all about Nehru, about everything that was done by Nehru. You know, the Bhakra Dam, the steel, I mean, everything that was being done. One was totally aware of that.
Right.
And so in that sense, that's the other thing that perhaps inspired. I remember now that you're asking that when I was at boarding school in England, it was a very small town, about 5,000 people. And because my father had been a member of the Rotary Club in Hardwar. And we were in Hardwar because he was project engineer of the Bharat Heavy Electrical. That was just being built.
Interesting.
Like, it was total, there was nothing there. Rural area, was nothing there. And so this is 1962 or so that he got posted there as project engineer, because he was civil engineer. So that also was in one's, and he was a civil buildings and roads and bridges engineer. So we had grown up, right, in UP in different places, Agra, Allahabad, Lucknow, Meerut, etc. All to development. So he was building roads and bridges and buildings.
The project of nation building
Yeah,
was
so it was there.
important.
We lived through it. When I think of it now, it is incredible how little there was and how much, like, as you're probably not familiar with the ranks, you have assistant engineer, executive engineer, superintending engineer, chief engineer. Straight. So executive engineer is sort of the second level, bottom is assistant engineer, and you become an executive engineer perhaps 10, at least in those days, maybe 10 years or 12 years after you get in, after your engineering degree. But there was so little work, in a sense, in civils, in building roads in the state, that as executive engineer, he would be in charge of 4 districts.
Just as a junior person.
Yeah, I mean, no, executive engineer was a relative, I mean, in those days, executive engineer had a huge government house. In Allahabad, for example, we had a huge compound, huge 6-bedroom, 4-bedroom house, and all the rest of it. But he was in charge of 4 districts: Allahabad, Mirzapur, Jaunpur, and one more. So all I'm saying is that when I've grown up with this, seeing how the country was being built, didn't think about it. Just grew up, as normal, right? And then, of course, I said Bharat Heavy Electricals. Now thinking back, it was a huge leap of faith. People deride Nehru and all that, right? But from this experience, that if you think of, we are lacking skills now, think of 60 years ago, 65 years ago. But you just have to do it. And it was with Russian aid. But I think there were not more than 10 or 15 Russian engineers at the most, and were doing it. And so people were brought in. My father was brought in from UP Public Works Department. Some engineers brought in from the railways, and there were many of these things happening. So my point is that in that sense, it was ingrained. I'm not saying I thought about it. But you saw it. Right.
The development.
And also reading, as I said, well, we had grown up reading on Gandhi, nation building, Nehru, nation building, discovery of India.
And so how did all of this evolve as you did your economics and read more and came back to India?
So as an undergraduate in those 2 years, I did, of course, economic development course. Also had to do the theory courses, because planning was the mantra of the day. Including by US aid, World Bank, etc.
Even at that time?
Absolutely. No. Yeah, and planning was for much longer time.
Because this is around the time when Korea had started picking a different route.
But
Singapore
Korea's planning board was the most powerful agency. That's what made Korea, Economic Planning Board of Korea. Similarly, Japan had a planning board. So, in fact, the USAID, World Bank, etc., almost forced countries to set up planning commissions. It's only very late now. And even now, countries have planning institutions. China has a planning institution. Now they call it National Development and NDRF, National Development and something. So, at that time, planning was big. Now, one of the reasons for that was that the idea of, as far as the developed countries are concerned, they grew without planning, but they grew 2-3% a year. But they grew 150 years, 2-3%. All right. What had been demonstrated by the Soviet Union and other socialist countries is through central planning, you grew much faster. Just like today, we think of the East Asian countries, including China, Japan, Southeast Asia, etc. This is what we should do: exports-led development, manufacturing, and so on. Okay, but what was the model at that time? Only model available for fast growth and development was the central planning system. Okay, So that was promoted. It's not that we did it.
Right.
It was being promoted by all the agencies at that time. Okay. Now it was different from the socialist central planning system.
Right.
Because in the socialist systems, China, Russia, Soviet Union, etc., there was no private sector.
Right.
Everything was done by the central planning ministry's planning division. That was not the case here.
Yeah.
You always had a private sector.
Yeah.
Yes, you control the activities and so on. I won't go into all that. But the fact is that we had planning, but nothing like the central planning they had.
Right.
So, because of these interests, when I was an undergraduate, apart from other courses in economics and so on, also, by the way, there was a very famous science policy historian. His name was Derek J. DeSola Price. So I did a course with him on history of science. Okay. And all these things kind of gel in that you're getting a background how the whole world has developed, and political development, how political development has taken place, and philosophy, you get a sense of how thinking changed across the Renaissance and so on. Also the history of science, right? So agricultural economics also, by the way. So all these combined. One of them there was central planning. I took 2 courses in central planning. There was a very well-known professor called John Michael Montius at Yale, who I think was originally Polish, I think. So anyway, he taught central planning. And so one was a general whole central planning course with the lecture course, etc. Another one was a seminar. And the way we are privileged in these places, at seminar only there were only 2 of us.
Interesting.
So we just go to his office. And we would sit there and he would give readings to do, and we would, so I got a very good sense of what central planning means. Then I applied, as I was finishing my undergraduate degree, I applied then it's very clear I wanted to do a PhD economics. So applied to various places for PhD economics. I got into Princeton with a full scholarship, full fellowship. Now, as it happened, because of my interest in development and so on, I thought agriculture is the basis.
Right.
So in fact, I was there for only 2 years. Because of my political development courses, there was again a very famous professor of political science and political development, who was David Apter. And he taught 2 courses on political development. And he had done particular work on Ghana and in Uganda. And so, but it was an overall political science, political development course, learning Max Weber and all kinds of things. Okay, but because of his courses, I got totally aware of what was happening in Tanzania. Okay,
What was happening in Tanzania?
so Tanzania, the president was a very charismatic figure. There was Julius K. Nyerere. Later on, he chaired the South Commission. That was in the 80s, where Manmohan Singh went as the Secretary General of the South Commission.
Interesting.
Okay, in the 80s. But I started reading about Mr. Nyerere. The special thing that he started was what called Ujamaa villages. And Ujamaa villages were essentially like collective farms.
Right.
So he started Ujamaa because Tanzania was very, very poor.
Right.
Very low education. He himself was the first graduate of the country, actually. And I think he had an education degree from Scotland.
Right.
So he started these Ujamaa, which were collective villages. And the defining thing for them was that there was no private property. Everything was owned collectively by the members of the village.
Right.
And so, in fact, I think 4 or 5 of them have come up by themselves. He observed those. That became national policy. So Ujamaa villages are being promoted all over Tanzania. Having grown up in 1960s, having been a student in the 1960s in England when I was doing engineering, one was involved in all kinds of left-wing activities. Okay, Vietnam protests,
Right.
protests against the Rhodesia, which later became Zimbabwe.
Right.
There was a quote unilateral declaration of independence by the Rhodesian whites.
Right.
So, been all kinds of protest marches in London. Now, funny thing was that engineering students generally don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? All the LSE students were doing it.
Right.
there were only about 15, 20 of us at Imperial College who would go off on these things. So anyway, the point is, in those days, again, anyone who thought he was sensible, you were left inclined.
Right.
So I found, when I read about Ujamaa, when I read about Nyerere, I was really fascinated. So just towards the end of my first year at Yale, I thought, no, you have to do a senior thesis, okay, to graduate. So I thought, I'm going to do my thesis in Ujamaa. I said, I've got to go there. At Yale, they were always, you got to rummage around and get some funding. So I was able to get funding from 3 sources at Yale, just enough to fly to East Africa. Okay, for the summer. And to go to East Africa was to go to London. So I was very happy. I go to see my old friends in London and so on. Went to East Africa, and I through my research actually, I'd identified the particular village I wanted to go to in Tanzania. But first, through a reference from the Yale Economics Department, I went to the relatively new University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Yeah. Went to the head of the economics department. I said, I'm here. Gave him my letter from Yale. Can you give me space in your hostel? For 3 weeks, I want to use the library. Right. Okay. So he said, what are you doing? What do you want to do? I said, oh, I want to study Ujamaa village. What do you do there? I said, I have to go there. There's no one going to let you go there. Okay. I said, no, I'm going, So I went to the Ministry of Rural Development. It's all running as an undergraduate student. Went to the Ministry of Rural Development, went to the secretary. I just, I think I must be really arrogant. Because wander in the University in Tanzania.
The young people these days call it, you can just do things.
You can just do things, the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I walked in there and I said, look, this is what I want to do. He said, you're very welcome, very nice. Terrific. Go there. So I went off to the city called Tanga, which is on the northeast coast of Tanzania, just south of the Kenya border. And this village was in that district. I went to the rural development officer. I said, I've come. The secretary will come. He said, you're not going anywhere. You have to get permission. I said, he said, don't need any permission. Again, I mean, arrogant. Give him a ring. Can you imagine asking in 1970, when even here you couldn't make trunk calls very easily. They keep ring to your boss in Dar es Salaam. So he rang up. The boss said he's been allowed to enter the country as a Commonwealth citizen. So he's a free fellow. But it's your responsibility. So he said, you're not going anywhere. My responsibility, forget it. So for a couple of days, I thought, now I'm totally screwed. I can't do my project. Right. And so I don't know what to do.
Halfway across the world.
Yeah, I don't know what to do now. But still, I went back to Dar es Salaam. And I got a bright idea to go to the head of the ruling party. It was the Tanzania African National Union, TANU, for which Nyerere belonged. So I went to the party office. I think I must have read somewhere, or someone must told me, the chap called John Millinga, who was sort of the ideologue behind this. I went to him, I said, I want to do this. He said, very good, very nice, you must do it. And he said, the headman of that village, it happens to be here in Dar es Salaam today. Okay. You must go and meet him. So one thing I learned from that, that the bureaucracy, despite the fact that it's a total government top policy, from the president downward, of promoting Ujamaa villages, but the bureaucracy is always very cautious. Right. And I've been now a member of the bureaucracy. Right. Okay. So they were too scared. Why they were scared, I don't know. So, so I don't know how I came to the idea that I should meet the party fellow. Right. He said, terrific, this is fantastic. How many Indian is interested in this? So you've come here. So you go and meet this head. I said, where do I meet him? He said, he named some office, I think rural development office or something. If you go there, opposite that, there's a tree. Right. He'll be sitting under there. So I walked off there to go and meet this guy. His name is Bernardo Kilonzo. So he said, oh, very welcome. You come and we'll look after you. You're a guest. So yeah, I want to. He said, you can work with us. So to a long story short, I went back to the same district, the same officer, which you can't go anywhere. I had a letter from the head of the party. He said, oh, very welcome. They gave me a jeep and so on to go to the village. So I stayed in the village. And I'm telling you this for a reason, actually, all this. So I went to the village, and this headman was Bernardo Kilonzo. He had a young wife. He spoke English. She didn't. So I was sort of communicating, and I was eating. They were feeding me. I was eating with them, whatever they were eating. They set up a tent for me to sleep in. I worked with them for almost a month.
Right.
The work there was every day. They at that time it was corn harvesting time, maize. So the work was going in harvesting.
Right.
I can't tell you how difficult, how tiring it is to do this the whole morning and then sometime the afternoon.
Right.
So, but the reason, so now this is a totally communal village that is being owned equally. So this was a big lesson for me in terms of left leaning and socialism and common ownership, equality, etc. How did this place run? As it happened, this was not one of the villages that Nyerere had founded.
Right.
These people had come together voluntarily.
Right.
It was their own idea.
Right.
Right. So every morning, the headman, who was almost all people were illiterate. The headman who I was staying with was literate. Every morning, people would come. I think there were 100 families or 200, and he would dole out the tasks every morning. You go and do weeding, you go and do harvesting, you go and do this, you go and do that. Okay. So, long shot of it, central planning.
Yeah.
All right. He is the planner.
Yeah.
He's saying, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Okay? So, you have to be lucky to get a good chap there.
Yes.
Second, while you're working there, I'm exaggerating, but everyone is looking around like this. वो काम कर रहा है कि नहीं? वो काम कर रही है कि नहीं? वो काम कर रहा है कि नहीं?
Yeah.
Men and women equal, completely actually.
Yeah.
But everyone because you're sharing everything.
Yeah.
Right.
No one should be shirking, right?
Yeah. So no one should be. Everyone is bothered.
Yeah.
Looking around. Then we go to the headman. See, that fellow is not working, or that lady is not working, and they had an agreed set of punishments, like in school. नहीं कर रहा है. So then you have to work 2 hours extra in the evening. Something is assigned. Again, shoot that up. Well, you can only do that if there's social contract that I agree that even that I'm not working, I'm shirking, I'm not being efficient, so I'm getting a punishment. Okay, but the social contract, I'll do the punishment.
Right.
I'll listen to this fellow.
Right.
Okay, and there's of course
enforcement
in terms of everyone saying you want to do it, But again, what is the alternative? Suppose they say, I don't want to do it. The only choice the village has is to throw you out. Right. Expand it. Okay. Russia, China, etc.
Yes.
Only choice was going off to some gulag.
Yes.
All right. And again, it's a big leap, or gulag, okay, or you go to the country, like here, go to the village. Okay? So this had a big impact on me. There were a lot of positive points. That every evening there was adult education class, right, and everyone used to go there. I used to go there also. Who did the teaching? Just someone who had been deputed by the community to go to some course done by the government or otherwise. So for example, say basic hygiene, basic medical. So some lady or some man, all young, would have been sent off for 2 weeks something. They would come back and teach. And so there was this kind of very low cost development taking place. And by the way, also, since everyone's been working in the day, they're getting together, having a damn good time, coming together in the evening and working. But the reason I've gone through all this to do with the whole issue of development, that I saw it at the absolute basic level. And it really confused me. Sort of challenging one's ideological views, political views, etc. कि ये काम नहीं करता है, So that was very important in my evolution. Right. Then, because I'd done this at the basic level, I said, now I'll do agricultural economics. So I took the graduate level course with this very famous professor called Robert Evanson. So many things in my life were taken by chance. So I was taking his course, and then he was talking about India and some agriculture development in India, R&D in India, etc. and agriculture. and some field work that he's doing. And I said as a joke to him, Professor Evans said, I'm sure you need an RA in India. He said, yes, I do. So I took a year off because I had not, from 1964 to 71, I left home at the age of 16. In those 7 years, I'd been home for only 2 weeks. We couldn't afford.
Right,
to
of
go
course.
there. Now we go every holiday and
Yeah.
so on. I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
So after 7 years, I really just wanted to come home. I was to get reacquainted with India. So I came home for a year. That was fantastic because I was doing field work for Professor Evans in agriculture. He came in both the summers, that is, summer immediately after I graduated,
Right.
and the next summer,
Right.
and went around with him almost all over India. To agricultural economics research stations, universities, got to know many of the academics, key agricultural economics academics, and others also. Age of 23.
Right.
So, again, that was a big, that I, to this day, even though I only work on agriculture for a couple of years, I have an understanding of agriculture which I wouldn't have had. Of course, I've not done work ever since.
To be fair, the agriculture sector is the least changed sector of all.
No, but apart from that, you have to have some sense, right? So I did that. So my intention was to specialize in agricultural economics. I took the year off, wrote 2 or 3, in fact, my first papers are in agricultural economics, published papers with Professor Evans and one on my own. This is before I've even entered graduate school. Go to Princeton, so go through the whole PhD and so on. In that period, another by chance thing happened. So after in my second year or so, you start in September, in my second year, towards the winter vacation, I just said I wanted to go home. Partly with a young lady I wanted to see, who had known previous time that I was here, right? But anyway, so I said I have to go home. So I had one of my advisors there was a man called John P. Lewis. He's written a famous book called Quiet Crisis in India. From the first, not one of the early economics books after independence. American, he used to run USAID here. And then he was the dean of the Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs at Princeton. He was my advisor as a research assistant. So I said, I want to go home for, what should we do? He said, maybe I can give you some funds from the Ford Foundation. He said, what will you do? So I said, I don't know. So somehow it is the idea, he says, I think that maybe you should do something on urban development, urban economics, property taxes or something. I said, I had no idea actually. Yeah, I'll do it. So I got that money from Ford Foundation just to come here, go around India. So I came, this is 1973, 74, for the winter of 4 weeks, 5 weeks or something. Went around Delhi, Madras, Calcutta, Bombay. Went to the municipal corporation offices in each place. When people today, this is 1973, 74, there's no data. I said this, whenever anyone says there's no data, I said, forget it, you're not done enough work. I went to all these places. They were so welcoming, a young student coming from nowhere, gave me all the data about the library. And I wrote a paper on Indian property taxes. The reason again this is important is that's how I got into urban economics.
Right.
Okay. So there was again a very famous professor called Edwin Bills in urban economics at Princeton. He's almost the father of urban economics. And very famous textbook just called Urban Economics. He's also the founder of the Journal of Urban Economics. And he's very, very crafty. So I took, although I had not specialized in that formally, but took his course and so on. So I said, now I'm going to do PhD in urban economics, my dissertation in urban economics. So that's how I fell into urban economics, urban development. And for my PhD thesis, I had an accident also, not a physical accident, which was that for urban economics, there's a whole residential location theory. That is, how do people decide where to live in a city?
Right.
The whole theory behind it. I said, yeah, this is a good idea. And someone in the World Bank had done a household survey in Bogota, Colombia. And I'd come to know him, I went to him, I said, my name was Marcelo Selowski. I said, I want this household. He said, sure, you can take it. So I spent about 6 to 9 months doing the background, in my third year, background work on the theory. so that I can set up what I want to do in terms of estimation and so on. I go back to him after 6-9 months. Said, no, I won't give it to you. Why? He said, because I've done the survey. So I want to get my results out first. So I said, look, I'll never be as fast as you. He said, no, I'm not going to wait. I've done 6 to 9 months and out without a thesis topic now. So again, just like in Tanzania, right? Now what do?
Yeah.
And I have to give up and go home,
The perils of collective development.
Yeah. So then within about 2 or 3 weeks, I recovered. And there was a professor called Sherman Robinson at Princeton. He was doing general equilibrium models. Okay, computable general equilibrium models, which were really new at the time.
At that time, cutting edge,
Yeah. So, but they were very clear what you do. So I got on to that very clear, very quickly. And I finished my thesis in 15 months by doing that. But that was a combination between macro development and
theory, micro theory.
macro development, not so much theory, actually, to some extent. But so I built a macro general equilibrium model. It was called development, structural change, and urbanization, or urban development, like that. I think development, structural change, urban development. Yeah. And I was simulating the con 51 to 84. In those days, there was no package. So I had to do my own Fortran programming to the thing. Anyway, so I was able to finish that in 15 months. So just these are long answers to short questions, that from sort of slow, that without my thinking about it, because I was just doing things as I came along, by accident. That I've now got some sense of economics, political development, science development, science policy, etc., philosophy. I wet my feet with agriculture. Then realized that the professor I had, Robert Evanson, he himself had been a farmer originally in Minnesota. So he had internal understanding of agriculture. After having worked with him, I said, I never lived in a rural area. And one of the strange things of my family history, one of my father's uncles did a family tree. There is no village in our family history, at least since 1600.
Okay.
We must have one of the rare families in the world
urban family
who's been urban all through. So I said to myself, ye to chalega nahi, samajh nahi aayega. So then I fell into urban economics and development. So my thesis was a combination of just straightforward modeling, also theorizing about economic development, how investment is related to development, productivity growth, all in the model. And how urban development takes place as transfer of people from agriculture to services and industry. That was new at the time. Because the whole thing was from agriculture to industry. Now people are figuring this out. I feel sorry that I never marketed myself. I did this 1946. 50 years ago. So that, as I was doing urban economics, many things had happened by chance. Now, Princeton is a very, very boring place in the summer holidays. You do not want to be there because there's nothing in Princeton except for the university. University is closed, there's nothing there. So I said, I have to go to Washington. Many friends were there and so on. So, as it happened, there was a project at Princeton on income distribution. And I was a graduate student. They said, you do a paper. I said, sure. What do you want? Why do you do a paper on urban land policy and income distribution? I said, sure, I'll do it. But there's nothing written on urban land policy and income distribution. But I didn't want to stay in Princeton. Someone gave me a reference to the head of the Urban Economics Research Division in the World Bank. It was Douglas Keir. So I went off to see him. Just out of the way, I wrote to him or something and took off. There was no internet in those days. And went to see him. I said, look, I don't want any money from you. Because I want to fund it for the summer for this project. Can you just give me a desk here? I said, sure. Apparently, you can't do it now because security reasons. So I had a nice desk to do my work. I got to know everyone in the urban division and the World Bank generally. So,
and there's more life lessons in here than economics lessons for young people watching the podcast.
Great summer. And I did this paper on urban land policy and income distribution, which then got published in a book and so on. This is all before I ran my thesis.
Okay.
So that's how they got to know me. Because I got interested in urban economics, doing thesis, etc. Just then in 1974 or 75, when the World Bank held its annual meeting, they hold an annual meeting once in 3 years outside Washington. That year taken place in Nairobi. So Mr. McNamara, the then president of the World Bank, he suddenly figured out there's urban poverty also, part of rural poverty. So he came. So the direction came to the research department. You have to do research on urban economics, urban development. So that's how this thing was happening. So some decision was taken that a lot of the economics work on urban development was obviously in the developed countries. So the issue was, what is different about cities in developing countries? You've got to study a city. Whole discussion took place. Should we study urban development across the world, etc. Finally, decision got made. Let's select a city and study it. So that's how this project came along.
Right.
It is a long thing, but decided let's just study a city. Then decided, because of the location of Washington, is much better, practically speaking, on the same time zone. So for a long process of thing in which I was involved, Bogota was chosen.
Right.
And just as I was graduating then from a PhD, they hired me as a professional economist. I had to go through the selection process of the young professionals, but I said I have no interest in that. So I got, so that's how I did nothing but one research study on urban development in 4 years. But I got 2 books out of it. I worked on urban income distribution and poverty, urban employment, labor force participation.
Right.
But the project covered public finance, municipal finance, residential location, employment location,
Right.
urban transport. So although it was one research project for 4 years to do with studying the city of Bogota, it covered everything. That gave me all this background. So life has been sort of, and then while I was there first 4 years, 76 to 80, 76 to first year, I think, Professor Raj Krishna was there as a consultant.
Okay.
And he loved to hold adda at coffee time, 11:30 in the morning.
This is Professor Raj Krishna of the famous Hindu.
Yes. Yeah. But he was a fantastic economist.
Of course.
Rajasthan University, Delhi School of Economics, very famous actually. And really, solid, hard economist.
Right.
So he used to like to hold adda over there. So here we are,
This is in Washington or
Washington World Bank in Washington. There was a coffee shop. You would go 11 o'clock, 11:30. You would hold adda. All of us, number of us, similar ilk. Listen. So that's how I got to know him. Murarji Desai government came, and he became member planning commission. So he comes to India planning commission at 78 or something like that, 79 maybe, 79 I think. So he rings me up actually. The way he used to speak, Babu, तुम वहाँ क्या कर रहे हो? देखो यहाँ पे प्लानिंग कमीशन में अर्बन किसी को इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, तुम आ जाओ और तुम्हें एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी बना देंगे. आई एम वेरी ओल्ड, 31 years old. I knew for the government that key is not feasible, but I said good idea. But it took me a year and a half. So he got me appointed as senior consultant at the age of 31 at joint secretary rank.
Right.
Okay, but not official. I mean, not a regular employee. Senior consultant for 3 years. So I took leave without pay from the World Bank. It took me 1.5 years to extricate myself from the research project I was doing, because if you're doing the standard World Bank country economics or something, you're easily substitutable. But you're not in a research project, part of which I had conceived, and designed. So it took me till end of 1980 to come here. By which time 2 governments had changed, from Murarji Desai to Charan Singh to Mrs. Gandhi. So I arrived here, report to the planning commission. I got on leave without pay from the World Bank, which means guarantee of coming back. I had the planning commission and report there. The reporting advisor, the head of administration, there was a IAS fellow, additional secretary rank, M.N. Chaudhary from West Bengal, Khara. He says, why have you come? I've been appointed. Is there something wrong with you? Is there a problem in your family that you're coming from World Bank to here? we don't treat people like you well here. That was the welcome I got at that time.
Yeah.
So I was there for 3 years. Two things on that. Manmohan Singh happened to be the member secretary of the Planning Commission, 1980, 81 or something like that. So that's how I got to know him. I kept bothering him, कि मैं क्या करूँ, because there was no structure for urban work. Finally, I convinced him. I think he agreed just to get me out of his hair. I said, look, I want to set up 4 task forces on urban development: planning of urban development, financing of urban development, shelter and the urban poor, and management of urban development. And I think just to get me out of his hair, he said, "Hi, please do it." And I got the highest level people, and I got to know everyone actually. Highest level people to chair each of these task forces.
Right.
For 2 years, I ran those. So I got meetings held in Hyderabad, Madras, Calcutta, everywhere. I got to know everyone, did a lot of work, came out 4 reports that still people in urban know. So again, the thing is that all these experiences, right, that you can do a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to
take the initiative to
take initiative and work hard.
Yeah.
And learn from people. Because what did I know? Again, मुझे मालूम है urban economics. But meet the administrators of these development authorities, DDA, Calcutta Metropolitan Development Authority, and Madras, and so on.
Yeah.
And get to know all of them. And also, they are happy to see you when they see that you've doing some work.
Right.
There's also something I learned, that even if you're young, people listen to you. If you have, if you're doing something, they can see you're serious.
Yeah.
They can see you're not, you don't have an agenda, so to speak, except at work.
Right.
That's what my experience. Even say, at that time, there was Secretary Urban Development. He used to spend a lot of time with me. I was just a city hall consultant, 32 years old, 31 years old, 33 years old. And I got to know all these people. So anyway, again, that's a huge experience in promoting economic development, right? And learning how to influence things, which is a collective activity. So over these task forces, with 4 task forces, I must have had 7 times 4, something like 25, 30 members, administrators, economists, etc. Right? I got to know all of them, worked with them together. And they're all very tolerant of me. And holding meetings, each of 4 task forces, each of them held many, I don't know how many meetings. So we went to all these cities and so on, right? So then also you get experience how these things.
Right.
Second, you're interacting with people. They also think, this is interesting. They will agree with us, a different issue. But it's this cooperative activity, right, which is important. It's nothing to do with I'm good or bad. But people are very interested. It's someone taking some initiative, getting people together, listening to their views. After all, someone who's 50 years old, long experience in IAS, is now a municipal commissioner or Minister of Development Authority. He knows how things happen.
Right.
So it's a cooperative activity. So then I went back. After 3 years, my term got over, and my leave from World Bank got over. One side thing on that, quite funny in a way. By the first 1.5 years towards something, Manmohan Singh left Planning Commission, went as governor of the Reserve Bank. So as my term was coming over, I went to see him, and I said, my term is coming over, and I was very happy to when I was doing. I said, do you think that I should resign from the World Bank now? He says, no. Don't do this mistake. I made this mistake. Earn some money, get more experience, then you come back. That was his advice. So I went back, Then he came back as a deputy chairman of the Planning Commission in 1985 with Rajiv Gandhi. Again, he called me up, rang me up actually. And I said, I want to come back now. I said, okay. So I came back at that time, 86, as he had set up something called the Development Policy Division. And he advised 3 economic advisors. I was one of them. Arvind Virbani was the second,
Right,
who also was in the World Bank. And third was a friend called Sudipto Mandal. He had been in the NIPFP. Later on, he went and worked in the ADB. No, Mandal, I'm so sorry. Srinivas Madhur.
Right.
Not Srinivas Madhur. He went and worked in ADB. So we informed this development policy division, and that's why I came in. Then, unfortunately, Manmohan Singh left as deputy chairman to the South Commission under Nehru
Right. Oh.
in 87 or something like that. So I was sort of left bereft in that. No one else had interest in this. It didn't fit the general thing of planning commission. So then I said, I have to start moving. Meanwhile, when I'd gone back to the World Bank for 3 years, 83 to 86, that's when all these East, you mentioned the East Asian economies.
Right.
They'd really come up.
Right.
So I had got fascinated कि ये क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे. And so after I went back for 1 year, I finished the previous work, got the 2 books out, put other people work together also from a urban project. Then I started looking for jobs in the World Bank. The way the World Bank works is that you're not posted like you are in the bureaucracy here. Okay, you are that they as a position comes open, it's advertised internally, and everyone applies for that. So I started looking. I wanted to become a country economist in an East Asian country.
Right.
Okay, I applied for the Korea senior economist position. That someone else got. They didn't get it. I got Philippines. For many things in my life, I gained from a failure, which is I didn't get Korea. Philippines was more interesting because they had not been successful.
Right.
And this happened to be in 85, just when the previous president, Mr. Marcos,
Right.
was thrown out.
Right.
Voter demonstrations, etc. New government came in. So there was a big structural adjustment program.
This is when they found Imelda Marcos.
Yes, exactly. That's what everyone remembers. But he had actually been started as a very good president relative to the previous one. Then, as he was in power for too long, he became corrupt and everything else.
Right.
So he was thrown out, and Philippines was a complete mess.
Yeah.
So then there was a huge IMF program, World Bank program, structural adjustment program. So that way I lucked out that I was there as a senior economist. So even though I had done no work in industry before, they wanted someone to do an industrial policy report. The way these things worked in the World Bank, I guess they still do, is that you say we're going to do a report on industrial policy in Philippines. Someone is made the mission chief. That was me. Even though I had no background in industry. Then you assemble half a dozen people from across the World Bank.
Right.
Someone who's an expert, say on R&D, someone who's an expert in electronics, whatever it is. Okay. So I assembled a team of 7, 8 people and went there and got a report together. In fact, I had to leave before the report finished, and I finished it while after coming back. But and of course, I participated in the whole structural program. Again, that is important for me.
Yeah.
In that gave me an opportunity to look at the whole development situation. Another example, that when I was doing this work, my very first mission, so to speak, was a mission that IMF led on taxes, the IMF tax mission in the Philippines. And so they had to get someone from the Philippines division in the World Bank to join the IMF mission. So the division chief said, you go. I said, okay. But my knowledge of municipal finance from Bogota came in useful in that, because there would be a tax mission, look at indirect taxes, rent tax, etc. I did a lot of the municipal finance work. Second, even on the other taxes, because I had experience of household surveys in my urban economics work in Bogota, for the first time I said, look, I want to look at the household surveys here to get a sense of what is income distribution, and then I can get a better idea of taxes. So these things get connected.
Absolutely.
But that's what is interesting.
And so this is the journey part, and because we're coming to a really important juncture, I also want to. I found your Tanzania anecdote, and especially the intellectual learning from it, so very, very interesting. In all of this period, are there similar things that strike you working in the Indian government, working in Philippines, of sort of how did personal experience connect to intellectual?
One thing just to, so when I went to Princeton, I'd already had this Tanzania experience. My mind had been changing, etc. Still, I took central planning course, which was, but the important, it was taught by someone, a very famous Hungarian economist called Janos Kornai.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So he gave that course, And that was absolutely mind-boggling in the sense that he had been in Hungarian planning commissioner.
Right.
And he was really innovative and really thoughtful. He'd written a book called Anti-Equilibrium,
Yeah.
another book called Rush versus Harmonic Growth. So that whole transition was taking place, here being taught by an actual central planner from a socialist country.
Yeah.
And he, in his teaching, because of experience,
Yeah.
he's giving you real life experience, everything that was difficult
Yeah.
or wrong.
Yeah.
He was not the later kind,
Yeah.
in the 90s, after the Soviet Union fell down, everything is bad and market, etc. He was a very realistic view of all the issues that come with central planning and
Right.
what he experienced. So that was another learning. Okay. Another one was that another very famous, I mean, very fortunate getting very good teachers actually. Very famous Chicago economist, Arnold Harberger. So he sort of got, unfortunately, name has got tainted because he advised Pinochet.
Yeah.
But he's one of the best microeconomists ever.
Yeah.
And he did, so he came to Princeton for a year. It was after I finished courses, but I took a couple of courses with him and got to know him very well. Now, he really, in some sense, instills in you intuition about economics.
Right.
And I can tell you that after having switched from electrical engineering to economics, I could do everything without difficulty because of my maths, etc. background.
Right.
But somehow I was thinking like an economist.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know, he instilled. I remember it almost to this day. Wonder, ab samajh aa gaya hai, you know.
That's so interesting. I always have this sense that, economists should think more like biologists than like engineers. I think socialist economists think like engineers, and I think market economists think like biologists.
Well, so I got this combination, right? So central planning, Janos Kornai, urban economics, agriculture, etc.
Right.
Now I'm with Harberger.
Right.
Okay. And the way he taught was that when he taught a course in economic development at Princeton. I'd already done that, so I didn't take it for credit, but I used to attend his classes. His way of teaching was case studies, because he had done different kinds of work in a number of Latin American countries. So you really got a sense of how you do real life analysis of real development issues.
Right.
You know, and as a footnote to that, I'll say that when I became first economic advisor, I rang him up from here. I said, become economic advisor. Any advice? He said, only one piece of advice. Remember, you are being paid to be the economic advisor, not political advisor. Your job is to provide clean economic advice. It's someone else's job to weigh politically what you're advising. That's not your job. That stuck in my head.
Right.
All the work they did in the government, actually. So I was saying, so then I applied from the Planning Commission to become economic advisor commerce. Every time I've had failures, okay, I apply for economic advisor commerce, I don't get it. My friend, colleague, also from World Bank originally, Jayanta Roy, because he had much better background than me on trade. Again, I'm applying something which is not background. I didn't get it. Economic advisor industry position also open, but I said, मैं इसको कर देता हूँ.
Right.
I applied, got it. Again, I lucked out that I got the 1988. So from late 88 to late, I started just studying the whole industrial policy, the whole control system, licensing, export control, trade control, import substitution, everything from the ground up. And attending all these meetings, or the licensing committee, the industrial licensing committee, the MRTP committee, the import licensing committee, etc., etc. So I got an absolute ground knowledge of how we're doing things.
Tell us more about what that knowledge
so
was.
I mean, the way I've written about that, I mean, it is almost incredible that any industrial development took place in our country.
At all, yeah.
So because if you wanted we started the licensing process in 1951, I think Industrial Development Regulation Act 1951. You had to get a license to set up a plant. So if you wanted to set up a plant, you first had to go to the Ministry of Industry to get a license to set up the plant. At first, you got a so-called letter of intent. Okay. Then you had to tie up, okay, that any industry plant you set up, you have to get capital goods imports. You have to get intermediate goods imports. So, for each of those things, you then have to go to the Commerce Ministry or another Director General of Foreign Trade, to the Import Licensing Committee, to get those licenses. Okay. Also, you almost every time you have to get a foreign technology agreement, what they call foreign collaboration. Again, with the Industry Ministry, that was cleared by the Director General of Technology Development, DGTD. You're part of Ministry of Industry. You had to get that clearance for that. Then you went back to the Industry Licensing Committee to get the license. Right? Also, if you're a big house, what you call MRTP company, there were a number of sectors which are not allowed.
Right.
Okay? So, if you were those, you had to get what you call MRTP clearance. वो अलग से. Okay. And then, because you almost had to raise money from the market, then you went on the control of capital issues to get permission to raise capital. And the CCI, control of capital issues, actually dictated the price at which you will get the IPO.
Right.
Okay. So, you had to do all these things. And the thing is that I observed how these committees worked. Other economic advisors, because economic advisors were not a member of any of these committees. I told the secretary I want to sit in these things. Then, okay, if you do whatever you do it. I said, okay. So I studied all these things. Then I wrote a paper called Commands and Controls. And it was done with then colleague. She was my senior research officer or something like that, the deputy advisor called Vandana Agarwal. She's fantastic, actually. We wrote this paper, and one of the things I found was that people associated licensing, etc., with socialism. Completely untrue. All right. During the Second World War, there was a Defence of India Act, under which Defence of India rules had been specified. So this licensing business started from that. Same thing, import control, etc. Then, just after independence, we enacted new acts, Control of Capital Issues Act, Export-Import Control Act, etc. So, what my conclusion from that research was, this has got nothing to do with socialism. This is what the whole colonial system was not to do with development. They were not interested in development. They were interested in control. So, the Indian bureaucracy, as it grew from the British bureaucracy, from ICS to IAS, all they knew was control.
So they just kept doing it. But the political justification for it was socialism.
No, this is what I'm saying.
That the government should play an expansive role.
That's a different issue. This is giving licenses to the private sector.
The instruments
the socialism part is reserving certain heavy industry areas for the public sector. Like steel, heavy electricals, etc. All right. But there was not really communist or socialist. That's what the UK was doing. UK nationalized the steel industry. UK nationalized the coal industry. UK nationalized the power industry, etc. Right? That was the order of the day in the world. And now you come used to other things. Say railways. It's only in the United States that the railways were private. Nowhere else. Energy, power. Only in the United States, the power is private sector. Otherwise, all the European country, everyone was in the government sector. So what I'm saying is that this was people in terms of economics. These are many of these areas are what you kind of call public goods, roads, railways, and so on. Not so much power. Okay? So they were kind of natural thinking at that time. And that's what the aid agency would be saying all the time also. Yes, of course, I was a socialist, say MRTP, socialist. Okay? You don't want big companies, big industries.
Small scale sector reservations.
Small scale has its origins in Gandhian economics. Okay? So all I'm saying is that from my point of view, you needed to understand, the evolution of what had taken place. One of the other things I had found was that right from the early to mid 60s onwards, there was a whole succession of government committees. It's all government people, no outside economists. Hmm. There wasn't any outside pressure from economists.
Right.
Okay, not to privatize, etc. And each of those committees came to the conclusion that industrial licensing, this control system, was very inefficient. But each of those committees said, "Oh, this is being done inefficiently, we'll tighten it." All right. So this was all in the public domain.
Right.
I've read all of those reports
Right.
to write this paper.
Right.
But the importance of all of this is that 1990, I was right place at the right time. The Rajiv Gandhi government fell in 89. Then the VP Singh government came.
Yeah.
That was the first non-Congress government
Yeah.
after the Morarji government. VP Singh appointed Mr. Ajit Singh as the industry minister.
Right.
Later on, he became a flake. Okay, but he's a very smart fellow. It actually been done engineering in the US and so on. He used to work for IBM, and he was relatively fresh coming back. And he was he was Charan Singh's son. But he was a completely modern fellow. Actually.
Right.
And so because it was this government came in after a long period of the Congress government, they wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So basically, they wanted to reform the economic system, but they didn't quite know what to do. Mr. A.N. Verma, who later became Princeton Prime Minister, Narasimha Rao, also, Pramath, no?
Yes.
He's Pramath's father-in-law.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, during Rajiv Gandhi's time itself, Mr. T.N. Seshan became the cabinet secretary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, who later became
Chief Election Commissioner.
Election Commissioner. He was a pretty hard fellow, and he loved throwing himself around, throwing his power, etc. He said to all the departments that I want you to give me a presentation on what you do. Now, in those days, there was no PowerPoint. Okay, you either had to do photographic slides, or those. I don't think you ever seen transparency.
No, I have.
You've seen transparencies.
I've even made them.
Okay, so you either had to do transparency or make photographic slides. So usually this kind of what you might call thankless task in any department in the government, no IAS fellow wants to do.
Right.
Because he knows it's thankless, it's not exercise of any power and so on. They're not interested. This task always comes to the economic advisor. Okay.
Right.
So this is a thankless task. Yeah. So Mr. A. Verma said, you do it? I said, okay. But that was very useful because to provide presentation to Mr. Seshan of what the ministry did, I had to put together, okay, the whole industry policy procedure.
Right.
And there were many different aspects to it. I only given you one thing.
Of course.
Okay. So I was doing this paper anyway, and so I had to put in slides, transparencies, the whole. I think there may be somewhere these boxes I'm digging out actually. So I had to put together the whole existing policy.
Right.
First time I think anyone had done that. Especially because he asked me, "Kar diya." And because I was doing this paper, so I knew the whole structure. I've been attending meetings also. So that structure, this is the current policy is. And what people kind of forget is during Rajiv Gandhi's time, there have been a number of homeopathic reforms,
right,
reducing controls. Okay?
It's an interesting word for it.
So that also, that time we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. This reform, this one, this one. Okay, so that was done. Then Ajit Singh comes in. Again, when any time new minister comes, you have to again tell him what the department does. So I had this stuff ready. The same thing always. Economic, ye karo. I had this stuff ready. Unko dikha diya. Then the Davos meeting. So it used to be the case that there was relatively new. I think only 4 or 5 had been held at that time. The industry ministry had to approve every industrialist because foreign exchange had to be approved.
Right.
So they had to apply to Ministry of Industry to get permission to go to Davos. This time, I think, I think second time, I think, that the government was sending a strong delegation with Ajit Singh, Industry Minister, as the head, A.N. Verma as Industry Secretary, Montek from the Prime Minister's office, VP Singh's time even, Nitin Desai, Chief Economic Advisor, And there were one or two other people. I was sort of the bag carrier, the junior most fellow. So for that also, we had to prep Mr. Ajit Singh.
Right.
We had prepped him कि this is what we do. कि अब दुनिया को दिखाना हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं.
हाँ.
So it was very interesting how some policy. So I saw this as an opportunity to push FDI and all the reforms that it ought to be done. So we kept, I don't know, 10, 5, 10, 15, 10 meetings or something, Ajit Singh, to say, look, this is our policy. This is what we are saying. This is what you can say in Davos. So there is some sense between Session and Ajit Singh, the beginning of the international series. Totally suo moto. The funny thing that happened is, you go to Davos, the bureaucratic delegation gets there a day before the minister is supposed to arrive. We arrive in Zurich. Ambassador comes to pick us up. He says, oh, I'm sorry to tell you, but the industry minister is not coming. The prime minister has said, ki tum nahi jao. He's sending RF Mohammed Khan, who is then the civil aviation minister, tum jao. So the whole thing was totally fut. Because obviously he knew nothing about national policy. He had not been briefed. He just came for a joyride.
But it's so interesting with this group of people, right? Like you said, Montek,
Yes.
Ian Verma, yourself. Had you already had a good bare bone structure of this is what the reform is that we needed?
I'm just saying that the two things. One, on the industry side, we have been doing this suo moto. We have begun this suo moto.
Right.
Actually. Montek late in 1990, 1990, for VP Singh had done a paper, it's become famous now as the M document.
Right.
So that he did. But the thing is, we were all friends. So this happened, there was no fut, nothing happened. Then because Ajit Singh had become interesting and VP Singh had been a finance minister reformer, okay, that was a reputation as finance minister. So we said, major reform karna hai. So A.M. Verma and I worked like mad for about 6 months. Actually produced an industrial policy document, which Ajit Singh actually placed on the table in Parliament. It is put there as an appendix in Panagaria's book called India, the Emerging Giant, 2007-8 book. So I gave him as an appendix. So that was the first industry policy statement. It is not as good as finally. And then what happened is that Chandrasekhar, who was in the Janata Party, he always thought he should be Prime Minister, not VP Singh. So he rebelled. Various other things happened, Devi Lal and whatnot. But one of the key reasons why Chandrasekhar, people don't remember this, rebelled was that he was totally in disagreement with this industrial policy, economic liberalization, FDI, etc. One of the reasons why he rebelled. There were other political reasons. And then he became Prime Minister for 6 months, 4 months or something.
Right.
And he kept the industry portfolio with him. Amazing thing, he, as Prime Minister, came to Udyog Bhavan as Prime Minister, Industry Minister, talked to us. And he said, you know that I oppose what you're doing, but I want you to continue doing your work. Don't worry about what I said.
That's
So the secretary, industry secretary, changed from A.N. Verma to Suresh Mathur. So I went to Suresh Mathur, kya karo, should I continue? He said, वही कह रहे हैं, तुम करो. In any case, government was in a limbo.
right.
We said, come karte raho. So I kept refining industrial policy from the 1990 version, which then later became 91 version. Okay. Then of course Narasimha Rao came, but this document was there, which the improved document. But during Chandrasekhar's time, actually, Dr. Manmohan Singh had become his economic advisor with cabinet rank, and he had an office in the cabinet secretariat. I'd known him from that planning commission time. He called me and said, I'm told you have a document for reform. I said, yes, I do. In those days, there was no internet, there was nothing, right? So I went, I said, मैं कल ले आता हूँ उसको, copy कराई उसकी. So I toddled up, said, here's the document. That's how he first saw the industrial policy document. You know what, I'm good. Then when the new government comes, he's appointed finance minister. And coincidentally, A.N. Verma becomes principal secretary prime minister.
Right.
So this is all these kind of funny things that happen, that people in the right places, the right time, for the wrong reasons or whatever it is. Okay. Also, I wouldn't put that, it's important, but the whole mahal was that, right? That we have to do something. And of course, there was crisis, so interest got, ideas got concentrated. So then as soon as they came in, we produced this policy within 6 weeks.
Right.
Because it was there already.
Right.
But it went through more and more improvement.
Right.
When it came in.
And this in particular, I'm very interested in, right? Because you hear this strand of conversation somewhere that 1991 is because of the IMF. And my position has always been that it doesn't make sense. IMF crises happen every year in every country, right? Like, and you don't get reform, and especially enduring, stable reform the way that we had in India. And your story is.
No, so this is very important that as it happens, partly because of what had happened in Southeast Asia, East Asia, okay, that the global thinking had been changing. We were actually 10 years late. China started in the early 80s.
Right.
We were 10 years, we lost 10 years.
Right.
But within the government, things had been, that is, Mrs. Gandhi appointed one committee on public sector reform headed by Arjun Sengupta, one committee on trade reform headed by Abid Hussain, another committee, was third one.
Alag committee.
Alag was head of the BICP. But because that in those days we controlled, this was another part of the control system. All the major material prices were controlled by the government. Coal, steel, everything, right? Cement, everything. So through the 80s, there was Alag and Vijay Kelkar. There's been loosening. All I'm saying is that this movement had been taking place, and somehow there was a group of technocrats. It just happened. Some like me, Montek, much earlier, somewhat earlier, come back from outside. There were others like Alag and others, also a group of IAS officers. So I can tell you that early 90s, there were at least 20 people in the technocracy who were of roughly similar minds. Weren't the same, different degrees of thinking, but roughly similar mind to one in the same direction, actually. And that was very important. So although I'm describing things and what I did, what my ministry did, etc., but it was part of the mahal. The only thing I would say for myself, if I may, is that because I've done those papers, etc., having been research-minded, that put everything together. Right. And so it came as a whole package. I'll give you another example, that there was this MRTP Act. MRTP company was a company whose assets were above some level. I forget the number now, 300 crores, something like that. Mr. Kumaramangalam, Mr. Rangarajan Kumaramangalam, at that time was the company law minister, company affairs minister. So I went to him and I said, the limit is 300, we should make it 1,000. And I took some high number. So he says, what's the logic behind 1,000? I said, there's no logic. It's just we want to make it much higher so that it becomes relevant. Why don't you abolish it? That's a damn good idea. That's what happened. It was his, he said, I didn't have the courage, right, to say, kisko abolish karna. I said, with 300 crore, I don't remember exactly. If it's 300, let's do 1,000 so that so many companies go out. Those 1,000 was a fair number. So he says, what is the logic of 1,000? There's no logic. So again, this is the thing of leadership, our thoughtful leadership. You think, what is the logic in this? So many of these kind of things happen. So, and of course, there was a huge crisis. So, the point in the IMF is that whenever we had a crisis, we had a really serious balance of payments crisis. And it's a miracle that we didn't default. So, IMF had to be brought in. They, of course, do come with conditionalities, etc. But most of them, what often happens is that the government of the country itself wants to do those things, but they're in normal political process. There won't be enough of a constituency to it. Ye keh rahe hain. But this was, since I did it, I know it's totally homegrown. Trade, they may have more influence, but even that we were wanting to liberalize. Exchange rate, we had done ourselves. Okay? So yes, there was an influence, no question. It could be that there was more discipline because they put everything together. I know how that happens because I've done that in the Philippines. Okay. And of course, I'm not mentioning Montek, but he was first with Rajiv Gandhi Prime Minister's office, then VP Singh Prime Minister's office, then Commerce Secretary under Chandrasekhar, and then finally Economic Affairs Secretary under Manmohan Singh.
Right.
So obviously he had a much wider ambit. Okay. But as I said, the important thing is there were some Reserve Bank, Rangarajan, Tarapo. So everywhere there was some kind of technocratic unity.
And general confluence
There
towards
were
the direction.
confluence of ideas, even though there were differences. Vijay Kelkar, BICP, etc. So, and all of us knew each other as friends. You know, so that's what promoted all these reforms. Of course, because of the balance of payments crisis, you had to do an exchange rate policy change. You had to do trade reforms. You had to open the economy. But these were all in the air.
And none of this was engineered. It just so
It
happened.
just happened because mainly was the crisis. It was a really serious crisis.
Right. No, I'm saying even this broader group of people with
Not
similar
no,
thoughts.
Not
Yes,
I don't know.
right. Because now if I look at what's happening today, right, and we are in a obviously nowhere close to as bad, but I think the lessons of 1947 to 1991 are receding in people's minds, right? And then
so one other thing in terms of process, that because Mr. A.N. Verma, in my view, of course I'm biased, but in my logical view, a rational view, he is the most unsung hero of the reforms. Because he was Principal Secretary to Narasimha Rao.
right.
Narasimha Rao basically said to Manmohan Singh, I am giving you the full authority to do what is necessary for the economy. And same thing to Narasimha Rao as to A.N. Verma as his Principal Secretary. So 91 to 96, Mr. A.N. Verma held an economic reforms meeting. It's called the Steering Committee on Economic Reforms. Every Thursday lunch for 5 years.
Wow.
Every Thursday lunch for 5 years. Because I'd worked with him and I was close to him, I was the only non-secretary who was there at all the meetings. Actually. But the thing is, it was, so you take up one subject at a time. So telecom reform. Telecom secretary would be called. Monte could come from finance ministry and really push the telecom. Ye karna, ye karna, ye karna. But everyone is reluctant to let go of their powers.
Yeah.
You know. Another thing that Narasimha Rao did, he made himself industry minister.
Yeah.
Succeeding Chandrasekhar, who was industry minister. That was very important. No industry minister would have given up all those licensing powers.
Right.
So many of these things, and I assume that he understood it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So there were many of these kind of things that the whole process. Now, I am not close enough to know the political process. Because Chidambaram was there as a commerce minister.
Right.
He was very reform minded. So he read the trade reforms.
Right.
You know. And so all this between Monte, Chidambaram, Manmohan Singh, the various economic advisors, the Reserve Bank, all BICP, Vijay Kelkar, and everyone, something was, it's like V.S. Naipaul's famous book, Million Mutinies Now.
No, and as interesting as learning what it was like is, I'm really coming at it partly from an instrumentalist perspective, which is to say, we still need a million more mutinies now.
No,
right? So how can we help them happen? What can we do to?
No, so you see the most reforms that were done in the 90s were reforms which could be done. The way I would put it is reforms that could be done by announcement. Okay, so in the 91 process, there were almost no laws we had to change. We could.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Because, say, on foreign trade, there was the Export-Import Control Act.
Yeah.
Okay, which later on become the Foreign Trade Act or something like it now. But each of those laws, the Industrial Policy, the IDR Act, under which industrial licensing was done, MRTP Act was abolished.
Yeah.
Because within the laws, you had the power to de-license. So you didn't have to go to Parliament.
Right.
Because it was announced in Parliament, but you didn't have to change any of these acts.
Right.
So you could just within the law de-license, de-reserve, etc. Which the government had the power to do, which you have to announce in Parliament.
Right.
The subsequent reforms, whether it's labour reforms, whether it's land reforms, whether it's urban land reform, those are all what I would say process reforms. they are much more difficult,
Right.
more complex.
Right.
And this is where I believe that, and I've written a paper on this 2 years ago called Escaping the Middle Income Trap, the Imperatives of Enhancing State Capacity. So this is where you need more state capacity to do process reforms. Okay, because you can't just announce and say what happened, say labor laws. I'm sorry, the agricultural law.
Right.
I think most of us agree there were laws in the right direction.
Yes.
But it's process. You could do by announcement, but it won't work. There are too many people whose interests are affected.
Yeah.
And you have to have enough state capacity to be able to A, structure them such that they're acceptable, B, work with the farmers, work with farmers' organizations, work with states. That involves a lot of state capacity, both political as well as administrative.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. In fact, like, would you not call this more political arrangement or political?
No, it's both.
That
Obviously, I'm speaking as a technocrat, right? First, as a technocrat, as I said with Professor Haberger's advice, okay, you give clean economic advice, that with logic, evidence, etc.
Yeah.
So that you can convince, you can explain to minister, politician, etc.
Right.
Don't think they just are not.
Right.
They wouldn't be where they are unless they really have street smarts and so on. Okay, I've always respected them. Of course, some not respected. But the point is that your job as a technocrat is, look, yeah. Now, they can still say, but all I'm saying is you need state capacity to be able to devise programs, solutions, etc., which are workable. The political issue also has to be resolved, which they have to do, and they have to have enough capacity to manage that political part.
Right.
So, to my understanding, in 1991, Narasimha Rao, this is a difference today from then. It wasn't this kind of adversarial relationship. Today, it's like enemies.
Yeah.
Because all these fellows had been in parliament together. Advani, Vajpayee, Narasimha Rao, they were kind of old coots.
Right.
Maybe in different parties. They were all friends, right? So my understanding is, although I was not witness to it, that because of this, what you might call bhaichara, and in some sense understanding that they may be in BJP, I'm in Congress, but they have the interest of the country at heart, so do I.
Yeah.
Of course, I have my political interest, he has political interest, and so on. But he, in some sense, was able to manage the political side.
Yeah.
So there was a division of labor. Narasimha Rao managing the political side, Manmohan Singh crafting the whole package, and N. Verma, the bureaucratic enforcer.
Right.
So it was and I've written about this, that the miracle is that each of these were really quiet and self-effacing people. They were not going out on the stump, कि मैंने ये किया. No one even remembers the N. Verma.
Right.
उनके बिना नहीं होता. I can assure you. Because he had to beat everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I think it is coming into the folklore of at least those of us who are interested, but out in the public.
I was very close to him. He treated me like an elder son or a younger brother or something like that, somewhere in between. I could pull his leg and so on because I was just had this trust in each other. But I would be in his room, would see some visitor coming in, when he was principal secretary of the PM. He was so powerful. Somehow his eyes were always bloodshot. So he would working just like this. Someone comes in from there. He almost bent in coming in because he's so powerful. Then he just raises eyes like this. The fellow is almost quaking, I'm bottling eyes were bloodshot.
Yeah.
Nothing, yeah.
There's so many interesting things, Dr. Mohan. This your own evolution from a left-leaning person to one of India's leading market reformers. I think it's fantastic.
But I'm not a market fundamentalist by a long shot.
I think market fundamentalism is oversold. I don't know if there are that many. But also, I think, especially this story about 1991, right? The confluence of many people, how the reforms were homegrown, and this bhaichara, I think, both administratively and politically, I think and I think these are incredibly relevant lessons for us today as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mohan. Pleasure talking to you.